Hi, and welcome to episode 170 of Explode Your Expert Business Show, brought to you by gtex.org.uk. I'm your host, Simone Vincenzi, the Experts Strategist, and this is the podcast for experts who want to become the ultimate authority in their niche while making an impact in their world. And today I have the pleasure to run a bonus episode on selling from the stage, where I'm doing a live review of the pitches that some of our lifetime members are going to use during their events. So this is an invaluable series. If you have missed the previous two episodes that we did with Doyle and Sylvia Hussein, and also there is another one with Evelina, then make sure you catch those three past episodes scrolling down in the podcast, because you will absolutely love them. And every time we focus on a different aspect of selling from the stage, because as I said, selling from the stage is an art and a science at the same time. So you want to have the art and the science. And how you get it? By listening to these episodes. And today I have the pleasure to interview our GTeX Lifetime members and to drill a bit. Our GTeX Lifetime member, Jim J. Doyle, is a great speaking on camera trainer and healer. And the question that he asked was about focus in particular. How do you keep focus when you speak, and how do you make sure you sell when you are speaking at another person's event? So in this session, we've actually talked about how to sell at external's event, how to keep on track when selling so you don't get distracted and sidetracked by distraction or by audience questions, and how to combine PowerPoints and flipcharts for maximum audience engagement, because the more engaged the audience is with you, the more they will buy at the end. Make sure you listen until the end of this episode. It's gonna be mind freaking blowing. If you want to read the transcript, maybe you like reading, you can read the transcript of the full interview and get the bonus resources at gtex.org.uk/173. And also you can connect with Jim J. Doyle and connect with him on Facebook. There is the link here in the show notes. I know that some of you that are listening right now, they are running events, they are running seminars, they maybe are running webinars, and you want to increase your conversion, you want to increase the number of people that attend, and you want to increase the number of people that then buy. And you might be already a good speaker, and you're wondering why people don't buy, or how can I get more people to buy? So why don't we have a call? I have a call with our team. The link is below in the show notes. So then we can see how we can help you, how we can help increase your conversion, how we can help creating even better experiences, and how we can help you becoming an even better speaker so that you can have more clients and create more impact. There is a link in the show notes, and the link is www.gtex.events/call. You can see also the case studies on the page, the testimonials of people that have been working with us, what they are saying, and then apply for a call with one of our team. So then we can see which program and service that we offer is the best for you, depending on where you are in your business. If you're starting out, if you're already 6-figure, or if you are 7-figure plus. As well, if you haven't downloaded yet our Ultimate Selling from the Stage checklist, make sure you do it right now, because it's a great resource to use alongside these episodes. Again, the link is here in the show notes. And I believe that magic happens when you have implementation and you have a community around you. That's why I urge you to join our Facebook group, Explode Your Expert Biz, on Facebook. The link again is here in the show notes, where you can access bonus training, you can connect with me, ask me any question, and also connect with thousands of other experts like yourself that are growing their businesses and making an impact in the world. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Right? Subscribe. That's the thing that we need for us to grow this podcast, and also for you not to miss any update or any other episode. So please subscribe. It will mean the world to me. And if you want to reach out to me, just connect with me on the Facebook group. That's the easiest way. Or send me an email at simone@gtex.org.uk. That comes straight into my inbox with your recommendation, or if you want to recommend a guest, or maybe yourself you want to consider as a guest on the show, or you have a topic that you really want to learn from. We will find the best expert for you, or we can send you the episode that is the best for you, based on the one that we have recorded in the past. Now, without further ado, let's hear it. And let's hear Selling When Speaking, live selling from the stage pitch review. And today is with the one and only Jim J. Doyle. Enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. And today I'm joined by the one and only Jim Doyle. How you doing, Jim?
Very well, Simone. Thank you for this interview. I'm really looking forward to it, and I've no idea what's coming next.
It's gonna be fantastic, in particular because we're gonna help you with your selling from the stage. So, Jim, how about introducing yourself for 30 seconds and letting us know what is that you want specifically help with?
I'm Jim J. Doyle, and what I do is help business leaders and entrepreneurs get rid of their limiting beliefs so they can be really much more successful and eliminate all kinds of limiting beliefs around money and wealth and performance, and especially being confident on video.
Fantastic. And how can I help you today?
What I'd like to do is be very clear. I'm a bit of a shiny object person, as we've spoken about before.
Yep.
And what I'd like is some help on, if you like, techniques and visualization in terms of preparation before my sales pitch and during it, because I'm a very visual person, of maintaining the right mindset and connection to the audience to maximize their positive, buying response.
That's brilliant. So we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at, first of all, what can you do preparing yourself as a preparation during your talk and before your talk, and then how do you keep focus during the talk, because I found this coming up very, very often. When you are so involved in the conversation as a presenter, and hopefully you're really passionate about what you're talking about, like Jim is, and then it's easy to get distracted or to go off track, and that can take away from the conversions in the room, because suddenly you run out of time, or you start talking about a topic which is not related to what the pitch is going to be about, which means that now the direction of the audience is in a complete different direction, and so there is a disconnect now between what you're talking about and the pitch. So we're going to look at how to manage both. Let's start from the preparation. When you are preparing a presentation, and when you are working on the presentation for an event or a speaking engagement that you have, what is the work that you do up front before the presentation to ensure that you have the maximum amount of sales?
Well, be crystal clear on what it is I'm actually selling and what my offer is. And what I'd normally do, being of the mindset approach generally is what I do, is being very sure that I am really comfortable with the offer I'm making. And so that's really key to what I do. I haven't done that many sales from the stage, but what I normally do is make sure that I'm very comfortable with that, because if I'm not, my audience isn't going to buy.
Absolutely. And how much time, and I want you to be very honest with me, how much time do you spend rehearsing the pitch or the call to action and the close before an event, before a speaking engagement?
Well, in preparation leading up to it, normally in the past I have not done near enough because I have a tendency to wing it. These days, what I tend to do is achieve, not just aim to achieve, 2 hours practicing, and not all in one go, but lots of different sessions in between, which basically means good planning up front, not just trying to squeeze it in between overrunning jobs.
And do you find that when you're practicing, how is your focus and attention when you're practicing? Do you find that you can be pulled in different directions? And, one moment the pitch says one thing, and the moment the next rehearsal says a completely different thing? Or do you find that you can keep the focus and the concentration while you are practicing?
I get the focus and the concentration pretty good after about 6 attempts. I think it's a function of being human, not just being Jim. Yeah. But, we go all over the place, especially when you're practicing by yourself. If you're practicing with a colleague in person rather than just on camera, it's a lot easier to keep focused, I find anyway.
That's brilliant. So in terms of what you're doing, I don't see anything that you can do more in the preparation. Is being incredibly clear about what you're selling, knowing the structure of the pitch, knowing the structure of the call to action, and as you suggested, working with a partner helps massively because also they can give you feedback. So, is there anything that you think you could be doing more in the preparation to help you? In the focus on be more focused on the event?
Well, certainly in terms of the preparation, is to test it with a couple of people, test it with a few other colleagues of the same or preferably greater experience. Bounce it around in say GTeX group or something like that, but ideally with a few people whose input feels valued and considered, and that they actually consider before they give you an answer rather than just a quick answer to keep you happy.
Okay, perfect. That's something definitely that I would recommend you to do. And when you're practicing, just a quick question, when you're practicing by yourself, do you also practice with your PowerPoints?
Yes, I do. And I also make sure I get it on video as well, because that way I can see what I'm doing, which might be like, because, I analyze people on video, so I can look at myself and go, that's rubbish, Jim. I need to improve that. So 2 hours, my 2 hours target is barely enough to do that.
That's brilliant. Okay, so the preparation work is done. So guys, if you're listening, make sure that you know what you're talking about, you're prepared, and you rehearse it as many times as possible, in particular with someone else. It will help you massively. So now let's look at during the event. What challenges do you face in terms of keeping focus during the event? Where do you find, can you give me an example of few moments where you kind of lost that focus or lost the grip and that impacted the call to action later?
Well, as I said, a bit of a shiny object person. Give me a Q&A session, and it's very easy for me to go off on tangents, which is not very good. I do manage to maintain focus reasonably well, to a level that I'm fairly happy with, but there's always room for improvement in terms of tightening it up. I don't want to give a really rigid talk. I want to give something that's empathic, that's resonant, that's passionate, and so that I believe what I'm saying, so I'm connected to it. So I have to be careful. I just literally have to be careful and pay attention to not go out on those tangents.
Right. So this is something that it will help you massively during the Q&A, because you've seen me speak many times, and I love the interaction. I love responding to Q&As like yourself, and I think it's really important to build the element of interaction in the talk, because it builds even more rapport with the audience. Now, to keep in managing, my rule of thumb is the question aligned in tune with what is the main topic and what I'm going to sell later? So I'm looking at the question that come in, and I'm saying, if I notice that this is a distraction and is not conducive to me showing my abilities to deliver, my knowledge, and is not giving the audience a relevant answer that can be useful to everyone given the context. Because what happens when you're having this Q&A, people will come in the room because they will want to know about a specific topic. And then one person will ask a question that will be relevant for everyone and adds to the room. And other people will ask questions that are very personal. And somehow it alienates the room, because then you have now 90% of the room that cannot relate with that question, or is completely off topic, but is very relevant for the person who is asking. So if I spot that question is not relevant and not in tune with the topic that you are covering, I would say, great question. Let me answer it later when we have finished the presentation, because now we will go off, because otherwise we will go off topic.
I have actually done that with 150 people before now. Somebody asked a completely off the wall question, which was possibly related. Well, it was out here related. It wasn't on focus. And I just said, yeah, highly detailed, great question, but let's talk about it later.
Absolutely. So that's something that you can keep doing and be even more mindful when you're doing it. And the other part, and the other thing that I would recommend is always have a set time for when you're going to make the pitch, for when you're going to make the call to action. So, for example, I always leave about 10 to 15 minutes, if it's a 1 hour talk, about 15 minutes for the call to action. Which means that no matter what I'm talking about, no matter what Q&A, I know when someone is giving me the sign that there are 20 minutes left, I know that it's time for me to wrap up and to start selling. So that can be, it's really important in that case that you communicate with someone in the room. They can give you a sign when there are 20 minutes left, or depending how long you need for the pitch. If it's a call to action to book a consultation, does it require 15 minutes?
Yeah.
If you're selling a product, yes, it will require 15 to 20 minutes. But then by having that, you know yourself that now is your time to pitch. So then you can manage your Q&A, you can manage the question, and then you can interrupt in a gentle way, not in a brutal way.
Yes.
But you can steer the conversation, say, great question, great Q&A. We'd love to keep going, but we need to move forward right now. And I will answer a lot of your questions later on, so make sure you stick around. It's a great way to handle it.
Yeah. There was one question, one thing you said on there was being sure that answering the question was relevant to what I was selling later on.
Yeah,
to what I was selling. Very subtle point on there, because in the past, I know I've interpreted those questions as being relevant to what I'm talking about, but not necessarily in the context of what I'm selling. Because I can deal in materials like that wide, but I'm selling something that wide. So the question may be, in my mind, relevant to what I know. So I kind of go into teaching mode instead of staying, like you said, focused on what I'm selling later. So not just the question in the moment. So it's a good case, that one, of not living in the now. but living in the future.
It's a really interesting, because a lot of speakers like myself, like yourself, we know a lot about different topics because we have a passion for learning. So when there is a question that we know the answer, and we know that we know the answer, is, as you said, is easy to step into teaching mode and then create an entire new seminar out of that, because now is an exciting topic to talk about, because I've been studying that topic for such a long time and I want to share it right now. And is about, is this adding value to the ultimate result, ultimate aim, which is making conversions?
Yeah, exactly.
And then if the answer is yes, great, that's a great question. Or then you can as well, because some question might be relevant and showcase your knowledge and expertise in that field. So you can give an answer, but a much shorter answer.
Yes.
So then you can manage your time and understand, okay, which question is worth spending more time delving deep into. with the end in mind that I want to sell this product. So if it is a question related to that product, let's say, for example, speaking to camera, let's just give that as an example. And someone asks you a question about energy healing. Two things that you can talk about forever.
Yep.
And now you can show and make the connection between energy healing and speaking to camera.
Mm-hmm.
But then I will make the answer about energy healing much shorter. And then someone asks a question about speaking to camera. I will then spend more time there because the product which is sold is related to speaking to camera. Yeah. But now the fact that you integrate your healing when you're doing your speaking to camera, then you had already a bit of time talking about the healing. So now they can see that you're good also that one.
Join the dots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about prioritizing there and having that at the back of your mind.
Yeah.
So that's a one thing that that you can do. The other part to keep focus is always to have a PowerPoint. When you are selling is easier. I know that you have your part, the events that we did with the other lifetime members. You had your PowerPoints. The pitch was very well structured, so you had a lot of the elements in place, and that helps you make sure that you tap into the right points and don't just suddenly start talking about something else in the crucial moment of the call to action. Yeah. Is there any other example where you think you could, knowing yourself, where you could go off track or lose a bit of focus other than one that we have explored?
Well, you've just mentioned it actually, implied it on there, which was when at the Purpose to Abundance talk, I had my PowerPoints, but I didn't actually keep to my slides because I was very comfortable talking about what it was, on whatever topic I was on at the time, to the point where I wasn't using the PowerPoint to follow in exact sequence. Yeah? I was being very dynamic and passionate with the audience to the point where the projector timed out. And so that is entirely down to me and to anybody else watching, of course, where just to make sure that if you've got PowerPoint, and you need to be comfortable with the timing you're using and stick with it, because if you lose the sync between those, then you've got a break in continuity, you disconnect from the audience. Yes, you were there, great to come and plug it in, but in a different set of circumstances, that could have been much more consequential.
It would have been, and this is my recommendation to you now that knowing your style, because if you see also my presentations, I hate PowerPoints personally, right? And we are on the same page. I hate PowerPoint. I use PowerPoint because they help me sell more effectively. So for me, they are an instrument of sales. But when I deliver the content, I'd rather be more with the audience than following a PowerPoint structure, because I know what kind of content I'm going to deliver, and I like to be more facilitative in the way I deliver the content. So a recommendation that something that you can do, instead of having all your structured content in the PowerPoint, you can have the beginning at the end, which is, when you have the picture about your social proof, testimonial pictures, because they are visual and they are the things that the audience needs to see. And then when you're going to the content, then you can transition and having way less slides. You can have just one or two slides as a sign just to be there on the screen as a holding slide, and then transition to a flip chart for visual aids like you did last time. I think you worked a lot with a flip chart, if I remember well.
Yes, I did, and that's when the projector timed out.
Exactly. So now we know that I'll put less slides in the content. You can use the flip chart there, and you have only 2 or 3 slides, thus the signpost. So then when and someone makes you the sign that it's time to wrap up, then you have maybe 1 or 2 slides to flick through before you have the slide with the pitch. Instead of, oh guys, sorry, 15 slides later, now I'm the time on the pitch.
That's disastrous. So what I've actually done in other presentations is I've got a black slide. So when I'm coming up to to ad lib and be passionate or whatever. Literally pop up a black slide, blank screen. It's not something, a bit of text or a picture and it's too bright. And then just pop on to the next one when the time is right. So there isn't an actual critical time to follow all the way through.
Absolutely. So that's a great way. That's an absolute great way for you to keep yourself on track and to keep yourself focused. And going into a bit more woo-woo, we know the power of intentions. So is for you in particular very powerful to have the intention of keeping focused. And you can set that intention before the talk. Say to this talk, I want to be passionate. I want to deliver value to the audience. I want to deliver the best I can be, to wow them, to make sure that they want more, and I want to be focused.
Absolutely.
And then it becomes your personal mantra before every single presentation.
As you can imagine, I have my personal mantras and practices and so on, which I'm quite adept at.
I know you are. That's why I know you would have loved this one. But it's something I'm doing every time. For example, even applied to other field. I love playing basketball. Play basketball very often. In fact, after this interview, I'm shooting off, and every time I have a basketball training or a basketball practice, I would set myself the intention of focus on something in particular. So one day I would say, today I want to focus on passing and creating plays for other players, which means I'm consciously play less individualistic, not shooting so much and not driving as much, but I take every opportunity to pass the ball and set screens for other players. Another training, I will say to myself, today I want to focus on my 3-point shot, which means every time I have an opportunity, I'm going to shoot no matter what other people say, because it's part of what I know is more relevant for me for that training. So that works as well on a presentation level. So you might have one time for you to say, I want to be focused, and to have focus as your biggest drive and as your biggest point of focus. Another one could be, I want to make sure I start my close 20 minutes before or 15 minutes or 20 minutes before the end of the presentation. And no matter what's going to happen, I'm going to stick to it. And so you can play and work on building these different skills in this way.
Focus on building a different muscle in each presentation.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Find the weak ones and then do more of the same.
Exactly. Or find the strong ones and focus more on the strong ones. So
true.
You will choose which one is going to be more relevant for you. If you have the speaking engagement of your life, focus on the strongest point. Yeah. That's not the practice ground. If you have a speech in front of 5 people at a networking event, awesome.
Yes.
Do whatever you want. Like, this is the time to practice and exercise the other muscle, because who cares if you screw up?
Yeah.
That's
fine. But if it's 500 plus, then better use the strong muscles.
Exactly. And going where is more comfortable for you, rather than going where is a stretch, because then you can screw up a big opportunity if you are using that as a training ground. I've got time for one more question, Jim. Do you have one more question?
Any preferred method of actually getting the audience to sign up? Now, you've spoken before many times about having people run to the back of the room, but I didn't actually get the impression you were really promoting that. We've both seen it too many times. So the question is, what is the easiest and preferred, from your point of view, getting people to sign up?
Easiest.
Get their credit card out and go, ka-ching.
Easiest is the application close.
Yeah.
The easiest is by far the application close. Is the easiest to learn, is the easiest to execute, is the one that also gives the highest number of leads from the room, because then you will close them in the consultation one-to-one. The downside of that is that you will have the consultation after the presentation, so life gets in the way. Some people will book and then not show up. We know the drill. So this is the easiest is that one, is the application close. It needs to be executed well because you will need to have, for example, if it's your own event or is an external event as well, you will need to have a full application that people are going to fill up. It's not just name, email address, and phone number.
Yeah.
Because then you will have a much higher level of understanding of who are the people, depending even from the answer, how long do they write the answers. If someone is just scribbling 3 words,
it's not exactly a commitment.
It's not exactly a commitment, but if someone spends time to explain the situation, what they're going through, and why do they need your help, then you know that that person is actually really serious about this. Now, it doesn't mean that the person who puts some scribble is not as qualified, but I would then prioritize more the people that have written good information rather than the people that have just put some scribbles that I cannot even read.
Right. But with that level of commitment for them to fill in the form and give away their life story, then you wouldn't do that on an evening talk or lunchtime talk or something like that, because they're not likely to have the time and they'll have the inclination to sort of run away and catch the train or whatever it is. Whereas
that's a very good point.
If it's in a 2-day, maybe a 1 day, but in a 2-day or a 3-day event, then you've got a different.
Not necessarily.
Totally
Not necessarily. No? Of course, the more time you have with them, the easier it is to create time for this to happen. But you as a speaker, you create the time. So if you have a 2-hour presentation in an evening or 1 hour and a half, and you know that it's going to take 10 minutes for them to fill up the application form,
True.
I account the filling up the application form as a time for the presentation.
Of course. Okay, so yeah, I take your point. Okay, so an hour and a half, I would have thought is probably pushing it, but would be my immediate emotional response. But 2 hours, yeah, okay. And
even if you have 1 hour and a half, then you have 1 hour and a half, and then you have the extra 10 minutes to fill up the application form.
And as you say, once the actual detail, the actual action of or attachment to filling in the form and a lot of details rather than just a name and an email address is a fair old commitment.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And then if you want to use the get in now clause, which is the full clause, with the bonuses, with the discount and people buying right now, I found that I love, there are 3 different ways. One is the rush at the back, which is created by creating a very high level of energy and need, and it's more, you step into more the archetype of the motivational speaker there, and is all about getting them to act on some primal instinct. In particular, a lot of speakers that use the technique, they tap into the primal instinct of survival. And that's what get people to run, because they trigger so many times the survival mechanism that then they go into the fight or flight response, which means then the people run at the back of the room. So that's the psychology which is needed to create that rush or that kind of feeling. Another one, I'm not judging any techniques here, because I think that every speaker will have their own technique. And as long as the speakers delivers on what is the word that they promise, I believe that it's okay. That's personally what I believe. Before I was very judgmental. I was like, oh no, why that person is selling in that way? The fact is that if that person is selling in that way and the people that buy are actually getting real transformation and they buy something that they need, that's a strategy.
That's fair. It works.
Right? So if people love the strategy, they will use that. I'm personally not a big fan of it, so I will use I will give sales form to everyone. So in my the idea is if I want to make it as easy as possible for someone to sign. So what's the easiest way? They don't even have to stand up, they get their form delivered on their table. So then, and they already have the pen. So the only thing they have to do is to fill it up. They don't even need to stand up. They don't need to go. Just do it right now and stand up. Now, that doesn't create, however, the social proof that the other model of seeing people going at the back, even if he's not running, but the forms are at the back, that doesn't create the level of social proof for then other people to stand up and the people that are more followers. Say, oh, well, all these other people are doing. What am I doing here?
Off we go.
Off we go. But I personally like the giving. Here's the presentation. Here's the call to action. Here's the bonuses. If the first 5 people that give me the form back will have this extra bonus. Here are the forms. Everyone fill it up. So now you'll find that some people will fill up the form really fast. That's the level of scarcity. It's like, I want that extra bonus there. So they will fill up. And then we number all the forms so they can see. And then we will say, 2 forms left, 1 form left, just to make people aware.
Just to crank them up.
Crank them up a bit more. So this is much more difficult and requires much more practice and training to execute. So I always recommend at the beginning, up until you do your first 100 events, use the application close. And then once you become a master in the application close, then move into the other type of close and play around. But you kind of have nothing to lose. You know what you're doing, and you can just be more relaxed and playful. Rather than thinking, oh my God, I need to say this now, I need to say this now, I need to.
And that's not going to work. If you're in that mode, then it's not going to work because you're not credible. Nobody's going to believe you.
And you lose connection with the audience by thinking about what the next thing you're going to say instead of thinking about what is just being there, being present.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jim, I think we are done. So last question is, what was the most valuable thing for you in this short session that we had?
I think probably actually the last bit of information you had on there was really valuable about just use the application. Don't mess around. Don't try and be too clever. And I think for me, it was being able to use the application effectively in just an evening talk in an hour and a half or so.
You did brilliant that night. You did absolutely brilliant.
I couldn't believe it. It was amazing.
Yeah, you got, what's that, 66% of the room?
66%, yeah.
66% of the room filling up applications. Jeez, that's good. That's good results, man.
I just got to do it more often with applications.
Absolutely. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you want now to create an incredible presentation that sell like crazy, have great results, you can scroll down and there is a link which will send you to a page where you can book a call with our team, and then we can discuss and have a chat and see how we can help you become awesome at selling from the stage, creating seminars and webinars that convert like crazy. Jim, thank you very much for being on the call today. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Simone. It's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.